I'm Daniel Lozano, and I'm gonna talk about handling relations with journalists and the media. So how many of you think that we're gonna see our classmates in the media in the next couple of years? I believe that too. The media loves talking to Boothies, and that's why I brought this topic to Ignite Booth. I'm not an expert, but I do have some experiences and topics that I wanna bring to the table. So one important aspect is understanding what's the media. Is it a risk, or is it a source of power that can be very important for us? I believe the second one, and I believe that it can become a source of power to all Boothies. And that's why I'm gonna talk about why you can turn a bad episode into a positive episode. In fact, we saw why Miss Colombia, after having her crown taken away, was able to reach out to the media and really build some assets, and now she has a bunch of offers after even going to an interview with Steve Harvey. You might also lose opportunities. We saw how the CEO of BP said, I would like to have my life back, while hundreds of animals were dying due to the critical accident. Understanding the context is very important. What drives journalists? Two things. One, that they want to acquire information and share it with everybody. And the second aspect is that they want a story. In fact, normally when they call you, they already have a story in mind, and they have you in that story. So it's very important to understand this context. Once we understand what drives the journalist, we move ahead to the 4 steps that I'm going to mention. The first step is preparation. Preparation in 2 buckets. Understanding the context of the interview, and then moving ahead to knowing your headline. What is your main message? So when you're understanding the context, we have 3 important things, or the 3 W's. Who is interviewing you? Which channel is he using? What is the topic about? And why is he interviewing? It's totally okay to say no to an interview or to say yes, depending on the context. And then when you have that, you should move to the headline. You should always go to an interview with a headline in mind. What's the newspaper going to say tomorrow? And you should have that in mind when you approach it. Have a main message and some arguments between that. Going to the second step, it's execution. And here we go to 2 buckets again. Which are your main components, and which are your main tools? In terms of main components, there are 3 important components. First, being very clear. Second, being very compelling, be news. And the third important aspect is being concise. Remember that anything that you say within your interview can be taken out of context. And then you move to the second aspect, and it's executing your preparation, your agenda, always having in mind your main message and not letting the interviewer taking you out of that context or that message. We have famous politicians that have been very good at this. So using blocks and bridges is something that is critical for this task. And I'm going to show in the next slide that you can do this. You can do this by acknowledging what the interviewer is asking you, but then putting your main message next. So what do I mean with this? That's interesting. However, my main message is XYZ. Or I cannot talk about X, but I can talk to you about Y. And the third and most important aspect is understanding that it's not about one interview, but it's about developing a relation with the interviewer, with the journalist. Be helpful, provide data, be humble, be empathetic. And the fourth aspect, but not least important, is acknowledging the power of the media. The media is very powerful. An editor will publish whatever sells and whatever he wants. Therefore, you should never think that there is anything that is not on the record. Everything is on the record. When you undermine the power of the press, terrible things have happened, and we can see this in the history of the US. So it's totally okay to reach out to experts and to be prepared. So now we're tying together the 4 most important tools. First, preparation. Second, execution. Third, relation. And fourth, understanding the power of the media. So with this, I hope to see you all very well prepared for your fantastic interviews, where you will take the Booth name and make us proud.